real estate is an asset that appreciates over time. And history shows us that. Even in market downturn or during 2008, DFW wasn't hit near as hard as the rest of the country because it was such a strong growth market. Yes, there's market downturns and dips, but history shows us that real estate only goes one direction.
If you're a residential real estate agent earning $200,000 a year and you want to grow your passive income, this show's for you. Learn the secrets other agents use and hear from experts in our field in order to guide you along your journey to investing in assets like apartment communities so that you can turn your commissions into cash flow. I'm Randall DeCleared. Let's go, baby. All right. Welcome back. We've got a great show for you today. Our guest is Dawn Keller. We discuss giving back. We discuss her perseverance and overcoming hardships and how she scaled and how her experience in the multifamily space, going from investing passively while working a W-2 job and then ultimately getting onto the active side still while working a full-time W-2 job. It's a great show and you're going to learn a lot. So stick through to the end. And without further ado, let's bring on Dawn. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today. Why don't you just kick us off and tell us, kind of how you got started in real estate. And read a little bit about your bio and your background. How did you make that transition? And just, tell me where you are in the space.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much, Randall. I am honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'd just love to share a little bit about my story. Like Randall said, just how I got here and what I'm doing. I believe there's a lot of people out there like me that genuinely want to change something about their life or their career, or their financial situation, and just don't know how. They just don't know where to begin. And that was me. So by sharing my story, my hope really is that I can help others. So my name is Dawn Keller. As Randall mentioned, I'm a real estate investor, specifically in the multifamily space. So now I'm a multifamily apartment syndicator. And I also have a full-time W-2 job where I work with casinos to help them run promotions for their players. So nothing to do with real estate whatsoever. So definitely I'm working two jobs, but it's doable. I'm happy to share more about that, of just how I manage my time in that challenge. There's a lot of challenges that come with that. But I live in the Dallas area with my husband, Jason, and our sweet little pit mix that we adopted during COVID. It's our little COVID baby. But I got into apartment investing in 2019. And I started passively investing first. So I didn't really have time to be more hands-on, but I wanted to put my money to work. And then actually during COVID, really that gave me an opportunity to get more actively involved since I wasn't as busy on my W-2 job. And that allowed me to transition into a general partner role where I'm active in finding deals, working with brokers and negotiating the deals, overseeing the business plan of these properties. But my favorite part really is helping with education, people that are just wanting to get into the space, or I work with a lot of physicians and attorneys that they want to put their money to work. I think that there's a lot of people that understand the value. They want to invest in real estate, but they don't know how or where to get started. This is an easy way for investors to put their money to work and co-own apartment buildings, apartment complexes, and really invest that way where they don't have to do a lot of the legwork. We do the legwork for them. So it really works out well. But just, a little bit about how I kind of grew up. I'm originally from Chicago, but I've lived in Texas since I was 10 years old. So it's definitely home for me. But I didn't grow up with a lot, to be honest. My parents divorced when I was 2 years old. And there was a period of time before my mom remarried, before she married my stepdad. There were several years where my mom was working two jobs, raising three kids. And I learned a lot from watching her and just figuring it out. Sometimes we just don't know how we're going to get through a situation or get through a hard time, and nobody's going to do it for you. And you just have to figure it out. And I think that's really shaped my beliefs and who I am. It's carried throughout my life of just making me independent and picking myself up in those hard times. There's always challenging times in our life, right? And that's really helped me throughout my life. But I grew up in an era, I guess, where we were really taught to work hard and save your money, right? Just save. And that's what I was taught. Is I didn't know anything else. It was, I went to college. I was only the second person in my entire family to go to college. And my sister was the first. And then I got the good job. I got the well-paying job, and that was great. I started saving my money, became a really good saver. I put it all in a 401k, and that's not working out for me right now. My 401k, I think, was down 30% last year. It's painful. And I just thought, gosh, there's got to be a better way to do this. We work so hard for our money. There's got to be a better way to make our money work for us. And flash forward today, my parents are now in their 70s. My mom's going to be 70 this year. My dad's in his 70s, and they're both still working. And I hate that for them. And I don't want them to have to work. Honestly, I don't want that for myself either. I don't want to work until I'm 70. Yeah. And that's a reality that a lot of people are facing these days. I just talked with a gentleman a couple of weeks ago who is a surgeon, makes it very, very good money. And I think he's 56. And he said, Dawn, I thought, honestly, by 55 to 60, I'd be able to retire. And he said, that's just not the case. And now he's looking for a way, he's like me and looking for something like, how can I put my money to work? Right. So I like sharing that with other people. Just, I didn't know this existed, multifamily investing. I didn't even know that existed just a few short years ago. And so I like sharing it with others and, helping them to grow. To me, it was more about creating a life that it's not just about money. Right. I think that's when people think of like success, it's not about money. It's about what money allows you to do. And it's really, I think when it comes down to it, it's time to do the things that are really important to you in life. And that's what multifamily has afforded me now. And that's why I got into space.
Yeah, I think that really happened for a lot of people. It was forced on them during COVID. And so, yeah, if you didn't know, now you know. You're like, oh, wow, I don't want to do this. I don't want to live this way. So it's given a lot of perspective for some people, but it sounds like you had this prior to. So kind of how did you get into the real estate side? Why was real estate a thing that you wanted to get into if you had a W-2 and you were making decent money, saving money, presumably, mm-hmm. right? Because that was what was hammered into you. So mm-hmm. what was your first foray into real estate? You buy single family houses? Did you you signed up for a group? Like, what'd you do?
Yep. I was probably watching too much HGTV and did a single family flip. I was like, well, that seems easy, right? There's nothing easy about that. Anyone who's done it. But yes, that's what I did. I did a single family flip. It was very profitable, but it wasn't what I was looking for. Immediately, I thought, how am I going to scale this? How am I going to scale this into something bigger? I was looking for something that I could grow my money exponentially and not just, a process of flipping it, over and over again. I remember I used to live in Uptown. For anyone in the Dallas area, I used to live in Uptown. And I remember driving to work in the morning, and it was like every patch of grass that you could find, developers were building apartments. And I just remember thinking like, gosh, like who is doing this and how do I get in on it? Like there's money in here. And like, I want to put my money into real estate that's going to grow into something bigger. That's really what attracted me to real estate in the first place. And I looked at a lot of different asset classes. Actually, I was going to buy a laundromat. They cash flow very well, and car washes. But multifamily really just checked all the boxes for me as far as the appreciation, putting your money into something that's going to grow in value, increase in value, and the scalability, being able to buy something bigger. So we're doing syndications, right? That are essentially a syndication. It's just people partnering to pool their money together to buy a larger asset, right? Yeah. So instead of buying my single family home that I flipped was $160,000, now I'm buying 10, 20, $30 million apartments that we can buy and scale that way. It has great tax benefits that I didn't even know that was, they're amazing tax benefits. So really it just checked all the boxes for me. And that's what got me kind of started in that space and really just got me momentum to keep going.
Sure. What year was that? When did you start doing that?
So 2019 is really when I got involved. Okay. I did my first investment in 2020, which you would think would be a bad year to do it, but actually it was a great time to invest. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like when everyone's running the other way and, is scared, sometimes those are the best opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, we're moving into that now as well, I would say. Yep. So, yeah. Okay. Well, there's a lot in that story. I really want to go back to this casino promo. Like, tell me what's going on. What do you do? Explain that to me.
I know it's such a funny business. So it's kind of like insurance in a way. So I work with casino side, but our company does more than that. We do really started in sports. So think of maybe like a hole-in-one. If you hit a hole-in-one on hole number 9, you win a car. We underwrite those types of prices. Or like say it's at a basketball game and AT&T is doing a promotion and they pull somebody from the stands and you try to make a half court shot to win $50,000. Yeah. Those are usually insured prizes. There's a company behind the scenes that is like covering those. And Lloyd's is, so we're reinsured. And so, so Lloyd's and Swiss Re and all the big guys. And so we're kind of a middleman and we definitely stay behind the scenes. And for casinos, we do more game show type stuff. So it might be these big wheel spins. It kind of looks like a Price is Right wheel. Like come spin the big wheel for your chance to win $1 million or a scratch card for your chance to win, $500,000, something like that. So
Yeah.
it's fun. It's
Yeah,
great. I mean, I'm so grateful for my W-2 job. It's afforded me a lot of opportunities. It's just not my forever because, we talked about briefly, we touched on that. There's more to life, I think, I feel like we were all created for something bigger, and we're not designed just to clock in and clock out and just count down the days till the weekend. There's so much more to it. And that's what really motivated me into getting into a different career that gives me the flexibility where I have a choice. I can choose when I work and how I work and where I work, and making time for those things that's important to me.
For sure. That's the beauty of cash flow. That's why.
Yes. Oh gosh.
Cash flow and the passive free cash flow, that is, not just cash flow that goes to something. Okay. So you also mentioned something about educate. So I wanted to touch on that. What is your favorite way that you educate either your partners that come in on deals with you? Because I assume that's what you were talking about. You like to educate in the space. So is it just one-on-one conversations? Do you do other things? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, great. I host a meetup that has 3,400 members right now, and that's local here in Dallas. So I'll hold in-person meetings and, just have different topics and speakers. And it really kind of talks to everyone from people just getting started that want to learn about how to create a passive income, and even to those that want to get into buying their own properties. And a lot of times it's single family, people that have invested in single family, and kind of like me, we're looking for something like to grow and to grow exponentially. And then I also host webinars online. That has been great. I've made a lot of connections just through mutual people that I know, through LinkedIn or other areas that you just connect with by joining some different groups that have similar interests. And then I'll host webinars. They're like 30-minute webinars. And it's just kind of, again, sharing my story and how it works. Like, what are we doing? I think it was so foreign to me when I first started just a few years ago. I didn't even know this was an option. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are looking for ways to diversify their investments and just looking for other, especially, now the stock market has been so volatile these past few years. And I think a lot of people that I've talked with are, they're tired of it. They want to look in something else. Like, what are my other options? And syndications in apartments that wasn't an option not that long ago. I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, maybe. It was all institutional. And now this has become an option for people like you and me to invest and buy apartment buildings. That makes it real tangible for us to do that.
Yeah. Set it up. Again, just to overview, I talk about this a bit on the channel, but like a syndication is a pool of capital. A lot of investors get in. The bank is typically the biggest investor unless you're paying all cash, but then it gives the opportunity for limited partners to invest without having to do any of the work. And they can put in 25 to 100,000 or more, right? So it's smaller check sizes, so you can get in on investments that you otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to see, because you have operators like us who go out and buy these things. So just a quick highlight and recap on what a syndication is. So quick question.
Yeah. I was going to add to that, just like it works out great. Like I said, I work with some physicians and attorneys. That's exactly what they're looking for is they have the funds and they're looking for something else. And in buying real estate, I think people really genuinely understand the value of investing in real estate. It's the how or where. And so this is a great solution for them. Yeah,
absolutely. So a lot of agents listen to the show. So what advice would you have for them if they have not ever actually invested? If you teach a lot and you come across, so this is what I find. I find a lot of agents get into the space. They like real estate. They know that it is valuable. They know that it can create some sort of passive income, but then they end up getting stuck either in single family or they get stuck in never investing, just the brokerage service side of the business, earning active income. And so do you have any advice to them to get of their hands and actually start investing?
Yeah, gosh, I think it's all about action, right? You can get stuck in that analysis paralysis and not knowing, where to go. I definitely think, there's a lot of education out there, right, that you can find online, but, podcasts and things that can really help you get started. I think it's about meeting people too. For me, that was a big thing. Just going to events. One of the first events that I went to, actually, I did join a mentorship program. I think you asked me about that earlier and I didn't answer that question. I did join a mentorship program and that was huge for me. And it wasn't even about the program itself. I think it was about the people that I met that weekend at this event, where these are just normal people like you and me, but they genuinely want to help. and really help you get started, and will kind of help you point you in the right direction. And that's what so many people help me along the way get started. And that's why I like to help others too. This is definitely a, team sport. I have found I'm kind of the person that likes to do it myself. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. That's not really true. I mean, you can partner with so many people to really go so much further and faster. So I would encourage, I would attend events. I think meetups and events and just making those connections with people, I think can really help you get connected with who you identify with. Find people that just really speak to you, speak to your heart, that have done the thing that you want to do, and model them, whether that's investing with them or, helping, to get your own career, so your own investment started on your own. If you want to, buy your own duplexes or multifamily or however you want to get started. But I think modeling someone else, we don't live in a bubble. You might as well take advantage of the people that and that connect you with other people and help you get started. Was it Tony Robbins that said, like, success leaves clues? And so it's like, follow that, use the mentors that you have in your life and the success models that you've seen other people have success with, and follow them.
And take action, 100%.
Take action. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes. That's huge too. Can we touch on that for a minute?
What's that?
Yeah. Can we touch on that for a second? I think action is like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I said, I like helping people when they're first getting started. And I've had a lot of people were maybe at a conference that are 300, 400 people, and they're looking around the room and they ask me, like, Dawn, like, how am I going to compete with all these people, trying to find the right connections and getting started. And you're not competing with, because 90% of this room is not going to do anything. They're super excited right now. They're super pumped. It's a great conference, but come Monday, they're not going to do anything. And that's the truth. It's because Monday's hard, right? When Monday rolls around, life is busy and we all have commitments, and that can be challenging. But taking that action, just taking one step, just doing something, you're going to beat out 90% of everyone else, because they're not going to do anything about it. And I also like to say this too. There's people that talk about massive action, and I think that's great. You do have to take massive action, but I feel like I like to say consistent action, because I feel like in massive action, sometimes there's a disconnect. It's like a New Year's resolution, right? Where you make a New Year's resolution, you barely get out of January. Most people, they don't make the whole year, let alone the month of January, because I think there's this disconnect and they can't see how to get from point A to point B, because it's a massive shift. But if you take consistent action, that is what moves the needle. And the truth is, results don't happen annually. Results don't happen monthly. Results really happen daily. And so if you take that daily consistent action, I don't care what it is, but just something that's going to help you move the needle every single day, you'll get there.
We're proud to be sponsored by Ridgeline Investment Group. Ridgeline has a track record of transacting more than $53 million in assets throughout Texas. Ridgeline is currently looking to acquire 100 to 200 unit Class B multifamily communities between 5 and 20 million in San Antonio, Temple, Waco, Tyler, and other Texas secondary markets. To learn more about Ridgeline Investment Group, visit www.ridgelineig.com. Yeah, we talk about it a lot. KPIs, key performance indicators, and you can break down these massive goals into really actionable, like 90-day plans, and then daily plans or weekly plans, So yeah. I was looking at mine this morning, and it's just, underwrite 10 deals, do this, call this many LPs, do all the little actions that are just daily activities that if you do them and, you track them, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish over a long period of time. So great advice there. Yeah. Makes me want to just get up and run around for a minute. Do something.
Do something. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about some of the deals that you've done, and let's talk about just real estate here. So right now, what are you seeing in the market before that? So how are you set up? Are you capital raising? Are you asset managing? Like, where are you in the multifamily deal? Like, where do you reside?
Yeah, great question. So my very first deal is a $10 million property in Fort Worth. It's 91 units. And I have 3 partners on that deal. And I played many roles. I would think I wanted to learn so much about it. So I was happy to play all the roles and be involved in every single part of it. The finding the deal, working with the brokers and underwriting, all of that. So I love that it taught me so much. And then working with my experienced partners that I was able to learn from them. Asset management, if I'm being honest, is not my favorite. So it's just, I used to, and before I was in sales in my current W-2, I was a project manager, and it's a little more IT based, but it was the hardest job I've ever had in my life. And that was something, it's a little bit like asset management and not my favorite. So I definitely like finding the deals. I even like underwriting. I'm kind of a closet nerd. So underwriting to me, it's like a puzzle. You kind of just, see like, oh, is this going to work out? What if we did this? And what about this plan? So that to me is fun as well. But I do also like the capital raise side. And to me, capital raising, listen, I'm in sales in my W-2. I am not a salesperson. I'm not the type of person that can sell ice to an Eskimo. I'm not a salesperson at all. I'm a terrible salesperson, but I'm very successful at it. And the reason that I'm successful at it is because sales to me is just finding the right fit. It's connecting a problem with a solution. And that's what I do for my clients in the casino business is if I can find a solution for them that works for them, they are going to be a client for life. And that's all I did. To me, that's not selling. I'm just helping them. And you can call it capital raising, whatever you want to call it. To me, it's the same thing. I'm not selling you anything. There are a lot of people out there that are just like me that were looking for something to put their money to work. And I'm just providing an opportunity. And this is like, if it works for you, great. If it's not your thing, that's fine too. It's great, but I have found a lot of people that have really been drawn to the multifamily investing business because it's like, oh my gosh, like that's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for a way to invest in real estate and grow my money and just letting it sit there. And that's a win-win. I found a solution for somebody and I'm just sharing my experience with others that are in the same position as I was.
Yeah, for sure. I found all the sales that I've always ever done. I used to sell Cutco knives. I've done sales for a long, long time. Yeah, the conversations that's my style. I would rather have a conversation with somebody and just make sure that it's a fit. And that isn't really sales. It's really just like, it doesn't make sense or not. So exactly. Yeah, it sounds like the same. But then you get the hard charging sales guys who go out and they crush it as well. But, to each
it's just a different philosophy, a different method. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So you have done some of the asset management side. You got any nightmares you want to share with us? You got any war stories?
Plumbing.
Yeah.
Plumbing is a nightmare. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we do, value add properties. So we're buying like 70s, 80s, built in the 70s and 80s and then, and fixing them up. And yes, the plumbing is not the same as it is today, but owning a 70s property, it seems sometimes we're playing whack-a-mole on that property. You're constantly repairing these slab leaks, these plumbing leaks. It's just old plumbing. So that would be my number one thing. And so I like 80s properties a little bit better.
What did you learn from that though? If it was one asset that's happened on, did you guys scope the pipes? What happened there?
Yes, we did and did the hydrojetting and all of that. So, but sometimes there's nothing you can do when it's old plumbing, it's going to happen, right? Yeah. It's just old plumbing. Nothing we could have done on that, but definitely something to keep in mind. And I don't like chillers. I've learned that as well. They're very, very expensive. So, you learn things about, and don't be wrong, like I haven't done a 60s property, but a lot of my colleagues have worked with properties both in the 60s and have done very, very well with them. You got to be prepared for that. You got to have the budget for it. Make sure that you're prepared for those things. Yeah, that's all. I'm big on location is my biggest thing. It can be an older property, but if it's in a good neighborhood, that to me is a win. That's a good find. Yeah.
Are you only doing stuff in the Dallas market? Are you around Texas? Where are you focused mainly?
DFW right now. I've been in the area since, like 30 something years. So it's definitely, I know the area really well. I'm not opposed to investing in other areas. Nashville's definitely on my radar. It's some parts of Florida. There's definitely, as we all know, a Sunbelt shift happening and you got to follow those migration patterns. And DFW right now, though, it's still on fire. People ask me that too. Like, Dawn, is now a good time to invest with are we paying us at the top of the market? And there's so many things that we look at, though. I'm still very bullish on DFW. Just the growth potential that we still have here. There's still a lot of room to grow. You factor then with the housing shortage that, experts are saying that it's going to be a decade before we catch up with the housing shortage that's going to put people into apartments. There's a lot of factors that we look into, but definitely I'm in DFW, love the area, know it well. And so I like to look at those little pockets that I'm familiar with that I know are good areas.
Yeah, for sure. So in Dallas, I've been looking at a number of deals up there recently, and there's so much more there than there is in like San Antonio right now available. But still, what are you seeing in the market then right now? Are you guys getting enough to underwrite? Have sellers pulled back, and so you're seeing your deal flow slow down? What are you seeing up there?
Definitely this past year has been a lot slower. Yes. The beginning of 2022, it was a buying frenzy, right? I mean, people were overbidding on properties and we were getting outbid. I think that was probably a blessing in disguise now that we did not win some of those properties that we were bidding on, because I do think that they were probably overpriced at the time. So we're seeing prices come down. That you also, you deal with interest rates, but the financing has changed as well. So if you can still get some good debt, and we are getting a debt. We closed on a property in October that was a 10-year fixed rate. It's a Freddie loan, and we got it sub 5%. I think it was like 4.8 something. That's a really good interest rate right now. For 10 years. And that 10-year fix, that gives us lots of options, right? So we could, if 2 years from now, if rates come down, we can refi to a better rate. If rates don't come down, if they continue to rise and we're ready to sell the property, we could do a loan assumption to the next buyer, right? Yeah. And so maybe they get a better rate. They can acquire a 4.8 rate if interest rates are, 7 or whatever. So there's lots of good options there. So, we're still able to make it work. And as long as the numbers work, we're good. We're still seeing a lot of growth. The rent growth has maybe slowed a little, but really not much. I've got a property in Fort Worth that is still, I think it's 96% occupied. Most of our residents renew at the new market rate. There's not a lot of options for them to go. It's just very competitive. They're seeing rents rise everywhere. And, if we change the property, I was just out there a couple of months ago for Thanksgiving. We did a Thanksgiving event for them. And I heard firsthand from some of the residents that said that they're like, we can see a huge difference in how you've cared for the property and just the improvements of, one lady told me just hot water. She's like, one time before you guys owned the property, we were out of hot water for like 3 weeks. I'm like, that's just unacceptable. So just, if we're changing these properties and making it better for residents too, and making it a place where they want to live, then they'll stay. They're happy. We want them to stay. And so that's huge. Most of our residents, 90% of our residents renew their leases. That's huge. That speaks volumes to that we're able to create a better community and living environment for them.
Yeah, that's great. So what are the main things you guys are doing right now for value add? Are you guys doing, is it mainly for this deal you bought in October? Is it a heavy lift? Is it easy rehab? It's not like a full reposition. Like what was that asset?
Yeah, it was nothing distressed. We're still buying pretty stable properties, especially to get agency. To get an agency loan. So it was already, very highly occupied and, 90+% occupied. So more of a light lift, but we do look for, what kind of, like you said, the value adds, covered parking on this particular property. A lot of the units, this one's built in the 80s, and a lot of the units do not have washer and dryer connections in the units. And so we're adding those and being able to add those. And that's huge to have washer and dryer, and then renting the washer and dryer machines. And that's income generated there. And we're doing some bulk Wi-Fi packages, and that can be very profitable. We're getting a discounted. What we'll do is from the provider, we'll buy a bulk package for the whole property. And by doing so, we get a largely discounted rate. And then the residents are also getting a discounted rate. Even though we're making some income there, they still are getting a lower rate than what they would be able to get if they were to go buy Wi-Fi on their own. And cable. We'll do sometimes a Wi-Fi cable package. So it works out for them as well.
Yeah. And then just regular on your turns, are you guys having to do any
renovations? Yeah. The interiors doing, the vinyl wood flooring and new cabinets and countertops, and depending on the area, either resurfacing or doing granite, depending on that location and the area. But just doing, renovations as they turn. And
I just didn't know if you were actually going to spend those CapEx dollars on the renos, or if you were just getting market rents based on your traditional, just regular turnover.
Both, honestly. So that the other property I mentioned that were 90% renewals, we're not touching those units. Yeah. And so those CapEx dollars are really being saved and will ultimately be returned as part of the investors, right? Yeah. That's money that we're not spending that we don't need.
All right. So then we were talking about limited partners a minute ago. Is there, like, right now, I guess in this environment, if you're still having conversations with them, like, what's the number one question that people are asking you, or either rebuttals maybe that you may be getting if you're presenting an opportunity? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
Definitely. I would say, the question is now a good time to invest? And nobody has a crystal ball, right? So nobody knows, but we do watch the market indicators. And that's why we look for things like the population growth and, in DFW, and the employers that are moving here and the housing shortage. We look at all those factors. And that's why we're still very bullish on DFW. The simple answer to that is, typically what I'll ask them in return is we underwrite for 5 years, right? It's a 5-year hold. If we can sell in less than that, it may not be quite 5 years, it may be 3, or if we hit our projections sooner, we'll sell it or refi, but plan on a 5-year hold. But I typically ask them, and then we have runway, right? So on this property, we'd do a 10-year loan. If something, catastrophic happens and we don't sell in 5 years, we've got more room, right?
Yeah.
So we're protecting ourselves that way. But I kind of just ask them, like, do you think that this property is going to be worth more in 5 years or 10 years than it is today? Every single person says yes. Okay. So that's, it's the value. If nothing else, real estate is an asset that appreciates over time. And history shows us that, even in market downturns or during 2008, even 2008, DFW wasn't hit near as hard as the rest of the country because it was such a strong growth market. But regardless, yes, there's market downturns and dips, but history shows us that real estate only goes one direction. It ultimately only goes one direction.
Yeah. Invest over the long term. Yeah. So it's interesting because when I was looking at some deals up there, it was just different. I mean, cap rates aside, just the rents and the, I guess, cash on cash. So like, are you guys doing monthly, quarterly distributions? Like, how do you guys operate when you're doing that? The property that you just bought in October, how is that? This is more of a personal question. Like anybody listening can actually say, oh, this is how it works. Okay, great. But I'm just kind of curious how you guys are operating that and what kind of cash on cash returns or projections you guys have. If you can talk about, I don't know what kind of deal it was, but we haven't even mentioned the deal, but some of these 506Bs, if you talk specifics, and this is for the listener, you can't really talk deal specifics on those deals, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. Yes. It definitely depends on the property and the loan, right? So on the fixed rate loan, this property we bought in October, we're seeing a lot lighter cash flow. Overall returns are still great, but we used to see cash flow at 8 to 10% annually, and now we're seeing like 4 to 5.
Yeah.
And that's because of interest rates, right? So definitely cash flow has been impacted. So if that's important to you, that's something to consider, right? But most investors are happy with, they're getting something. It's 4 to 5%, and then they understand the long term, the 5-year plan is that you'll get capital gains at the sale or the refi of the property. But yeah, definitely cash flow has been impacted. That one, because it's a fixed rate loan, absolutely quarterly dividends. And that's the goal there. But another property I have is a variable rate. And we have reassessed the dividends there of paying that out. And what we're doing is we've just put a pause on that for now because we want to make sure we're being conservative.
Yeah.
The first priority in investing is to protect your money, is to protect your wealth. Right. That's the first
capital for sure.
That's right. That's the first step. So that's what we're focusing right now, and just keeping the property highly occupied and performing well, but just being smart about it. And I think investors understand that. This last 2022 was crazy, just like how rapidly, I think that was like a record, if I read that correctly, is that how fast the interest rate, it was the rate at which the fastest hikes ever.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people were just like, whoa, and so for that reason, I think investors are very understandable about that. Like, hey, we're going to just, let's be conservative for now. We're reevaluating all the time to see where we're at. And I think investors are fine with that. Like, let's stay on the conservative side. There's no reason to rush into this. Like we said, we have a long runway. We've got more time if we need it, but let's just, let's play it safe right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's even looking at it again, I talk about this, but just getting a return, getting your dollars invested rather than just sitting in the bank when inflation is as high as it is. It's like, you're doing better, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, if you think about that, think about inflation. What I think the average for last year for 2022, fluctuate a little bit. I think the average was 8%, right? Is inflation. So if you think about that, if your money is just sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything, you're losing 8%.
Yeah.
You are losing 8% of your money. Yeah. That is a fact. So just by putting your money into an investment, into real estate, where you're protecting your wealth and you're not losing 8% a year. And in fact, maybe, getting, if you're cash flowing 4 to 5%, hey, you're doing pretty good right now.
Yeah.
That's great.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, just like a lot of sellers, they've had to moderate their expectations on sale price and will, I think, continue going forward for, some time now. Investors, everyone had so much money. Everyone was chasing yield. Everyone was pushing. So all the liquidity that was in the market and able to go after, I guess, the 8%, the double digit rent growth, that sort of thing. But now it's just like moderate your expectations and understand where we are in the cycle. It's still a good time to invest, get into the deals, and just operate them properly. So,
yeah.
All right. So what are you looking forward to in 2023? Getting close to the end here, but I want to just ask you a couple more, bright spots. What are you looking forward to?
So, okay, I'll share a couple of things, actually, if you don't mind. One thing is that I was at a mastermind a year ago in January of 2022, where we were challenged to set stretch goals. And so, stretch goal is something that, kind of pushes you beyond what you think is possible, but kind of just opens your mind to, the possibilities out there. Right. And I just did my kind of like my personal year-end review for 2022 and just, reflecting on what I accomplished and, what I didn't. And I didn't hit a single one of those stretch goals. First, I thought, man, like that's a failure, right? But to me, it wasn't. What ended up happening is what I didn't realize at the time is that by focusing on those stretch goals, these massive goals, it pushed me to be on a different playing field.
Yeah.
It elevated my level of thinking. And I ended up actually having a very, very successful, incredible year. So that really, even though it seemed...
All right, guys. Thanks.
And when I really reflected back on everything that I accomplished last year, it was really incredible. And that is one thing that I'm also looking for at 2023. I think sometimes as business people and entrepreneurs, we have this like long to-do list and we're always looking at like the next thing we have to do. And I'm guilty of rarely stopping to reflect on the wins and what I've accomplished, because those are the things that really keep you going. The momentum of having that just keeps you going. And so that's something that I am guilty of, that I need to do a better job of taking the time to really pause and reflect on those things. And then also just from a personal level, I got into multifamily investing to grow, my wealth and my finances, but it really has helped me grow so much personally. This past year, I've challenged myself in ways that I never have before. And it's really also helped me prioritize what's important in life. So I'm not only spending time with my loved ones and family, but I used to volunteer several years ago and stopped because life got in the way. And I was like, man, I want to get back into doing something, and really, giving back to me is so important. And, how we can help just our society and our world, and giving back in any way that we can. And I recently started a program with my dog that I mentioned we adopted, and my COVID baby, into a therapy program where she can get certified, and we go together into nursing homes and hospitals where she can be a therapy, like a visitor dog. That's something that my dog and I would do together, and
very cool.
And just do that visitation. So that is what we're working on right now, is getting her certification. And it's just been a lot of fun. And it just gives me hope that I can bring a smile to someone's face and to help others.
Yeah, that's great. So my sister runs Sit Means Sit in Temple, and in training all of her dogs, that is one thing she trains them to do. And so she's been she's been doing that for a while. She loves it. So
I love that. Okay.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk with her and connect with her and chat more.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll put you guys in touch. That's great. So, that kind of answered another question I was going to have, like how you like to give back. I was talking to Yona Weiss recently, and he started talking about it, and it wasn't a question that I normally ask people, but yeah, it just came up. So I'm glad you went down that road. So that's good. You got 2023, you got that set up. How many units are you trying to take down this year? You got any goals there?
I haven't set a number of units, but I'd like to do at least 3 deals this year. And okay. Yes. Yeah. And, still with my W-2, that's a lot. It's challenging. Yeah. So 3 is good. And I also like to take my time with it too. I don't want to jump into anything that doesn't make sense. So I like really take my time and make sure it's a good deal that I really like. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been awesome having you on. I'm going to ask you some wrap-up questions not related. So what's your favorite pastime not related to real estate?
Gosh, traveling. I would say traveling. Yes. I love exploring different places, but I'm also, I think I mentioned, I'm kind of a closet nerd. So if I travel,
but I'm a nerd, so I can't leave.
But
I'm
also a nerd. And I like to, I don't know, like I read, I do puzzles, like logic puzzles, jigsaw puzzles. I'm totally a nerd. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I don't know that you may answer this. What's the best thing or memory that's happened to you or your family in the last 60 days or so? You travel anywhere? Fantastic.
I have done some traveling, but one of my favorite memories would be, this was right around Christmas time, at the very beginning of December, that I was scheduled to be at a real estate conference. It was a 2-day conference. And at the last minute, my best friend, who now lives in Atlanta, she used to live here in Dallas, lives in Atlanta, and her son is my godson. He's 4 years old. They had made a quick trip to Dallas, and it was that same weekend as my conference. And I went to the conference on Friday. I cut out a little bit early so I could spend the evening with them. And then Saturday morning, I woke up. They're staying at my house. And Saturday morning, I woke up and was supposed to head to the conference, and my heart wasn't in it. I couldn't leave. It's so rare that I get to see them. And my 4-year-old godson, who he's just going to be little once. And I just, he's so much fun. Four is such a fun age, and he's so funny, and I couldn't do it. So I played hooky that day from the conference. It's a conference I paid a lot of money to go to. And I just game time decision. I was like, I'm not going. And I stayed home and we made brunch. My husband and I made brunch. My sister came over and we just hung out all day. And it was one of the best days of my life, honestly, just being surrounded by people that I love. And we just played games and just talked and laughed, and it was a great day. And that's life, right? That's like, we have to make some tough choices sometimes, but that's one of the things that multifamily investing has afforded me, the opportunity to choose those things. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the point. Like, right, you're working towards something, and if you give up those moments, then what is it for, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome. Good to hear. Okay, and then last one, name one or two people who've been most influential to your success or the way you think.
Gosh. So I have to definitely, Brad Sumrock is a mentor to me. He's now a personal friend of mine, and that's the mentorship program that I joined. He's been instrumental in my growth. And then, I'm also going to say probably, I have so many, mentors and just people that inspire me. My sister is one, and she's an RN. She's a nurse at Children's Hospital. She's in the ICU at Children's Hospital. And this woman deserves a gold medal. Any of these women who can work in an ICU with children and the trauma that they see, it's unbelievable what they face. And to see her resiliency and how she's able to touch lives and help families go through a difficult time has nothing to do with multifamily, obviously, but it's life-changing to see that. And she's been such an inspiration to me and in resiliency and getting through difficult times that I've faced in my life. She's a rock star, and I admire her so much.
All right. That's a good, solid shout out. Sis, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, again, want to thank you for coming on. It's great catching up with you. I'm going to put all your contact info down in the show notes so people can reach out to you if they want to go through direct. And
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. For any of your listeners, I do have a free gift. If you'd like, I can share that with you guys. I can send that to you. It's 10 tips to make your money work for you. So if you'd like, you can email me. And if you, Randall, want to share my email address, and then you can email me and I'll send it over to you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. I really appreciate it. I had fun.
Thank you. All right, let's go. Take care. Go build some cash flow, agents.
Surprisingly, most of the agents we speak with got into real estate hoping to gain passive income and become work optional. However, only 1 in 5 ever start investing. Most are simply too afraid to start. Once you get educated by listening to this show, you'll be able to overcome that fear and become the 1 in 5 who are finding financial freedom. Don't miss a single episode. If you want to stay up to date, the best way is to make sure you're subscribed. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do it now. And we'll catch you on the next episode.